Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Gauranitai. Nitai Gaur Haribol, 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 Gaur Haribol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Om, Jaya Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa Padarajaka Acharya Asatar Sri Shivan. ISKCON BBT founder Charles Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishna Om Vishnupad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Gira Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Brajamuminam Nam Ki Jai. Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Lachal Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. The most beautiful lordship Shri Shukmini Dwarkadish Ki Jai. Shri Shukmini Dwarkanath Ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Going back to home, back to Godhead Ki Jai. ISKCON Los Angeles Yatra Ki Jai. Brihad Mridanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. International Food for Life Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Haribo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glory to the Prabhupada. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Deving Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and to Srila Prabhupada, who is the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki. By regularly attending the Srimad Bhagavatam class and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving devotional service unto the personality of God, whose worship with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing our reading from the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is chapter 4, the atrocities of King Kamsa. We're going to start with text 2, and we'll recite that together. But it has a very short purpose. I'm going to do 3 as well. And then next week we'll be reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. So everybody remember that the next time we do Bhagavatam class, we start at text number 4. Okay? 10, 4, 4 will be the next verse. Okay. Te Tu Turnam Upavrajya Devakya Garbha Janma Tat Achakyur Bhoja Rajaya Yad Udvignaha Pratikshate Te Turnam Te tu Turnamupavraja Devakya Garbajanmatat Achakyur Bojarajaya Yad Udvignak Pratikshate Te tu Turnamupavraja. It's not upavraja, there's no long A there. Everything is without diacritic, so it's no stress. Upavraja. Okay. Te tu turnam upavraja. Devakya garbajanmatat. Achakyur bojarajaya. Yad udvignak pratikshate. Te tu turnam upavraja. Devakya garbajanmatat. Achakyur bojarajaya. Yad udvignak pratikshate. Please chant. Achakyur bojarajaya. Yadudvignak pratikshate. Te tur turnam upavraja. Devakya garbajanmatat. Achakyur bojarajaya. Yadudvignak pratikshate. Vaishnavis. Te tu turnam upavraja. Devakya garbajanmatat. Achakyur bojarajaya. Yadudvignak pratikshate. Te tu turnam upavraja. Devakya garbajanmatat. Achakyur bojarajaya. Yadudvignak pratikshate. Te tu turnam upavraja. Devakya garbajanmatat. Achakyur bojarajaya. Yadudvignak pratikshate. Okay. Synonyms. Te, all the watchmen. To, indeed. Turnam, very quickly. Upavraja, going before the king. Devakyaha, of Devaki. Garbajanma, the deliverance from the womb. Tat, that, child. Achakyuhu, submitted. Bojarajaya, unto the king of the Bojas, Kamsa, yet of whom Udbignaha, with great anxiety, Pratikshate, was waiting for the child's birth. Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse. Thereafter, all the watchmen very quickly approached King Kamsa, the ruler of the Bhoja dynasty, and submitted the news of the birth of Devaki's child. Kamsa, who had awaited this news very anxiously, immediately took action. Please repeat. Thereafter, all the watchmen very quickly approached King Kamsa, the ruler of the Bhoja dynasty, and submitted the news of the birth of Devaki's child. Kamsa, who had awaited this news very anxiously, immediately took action. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Kamsa was very anxiously waiting because of the prophecy that the 8th child of Devaki would kill him. This time, naturally, he was awake and waiting. And when the watchman approached him, he immediately took action to kill the child. So I'm going to go on to text 3. Satalpad Turnabhuttaya Kaloyam iti vibalaha Suti Griham Agat Turnam Prashkalan Muktamurdajaha. Srila Prabhupada's translation. Kamsa immediately got up from bed, thinking, quote, "Here is Kala, the supreme time factor, which has taken birth to kill me." End of quote. Thus overwhelmed, Kamsa, his hair scattered on his head, at once approached the place where the child had been born. Purport. The word Kalaha is significant. Although the child was born to kill Kamsa, Kamsa thought that this was the proper time to kill the child so that he himself would be saved. Kala is actually another name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead when he appears only for the purpose of killing. When Arjuna inquired from Krishna in his universal form, "Who are you?" the Lord presented himself as Kala, death personified, to kill. By nature's law, when there is an unwanted increase in population, Kala appears, and by some arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, people are killed wholesale in different ways, by war, pestilence, famine, and so on. At that time, even atheistic political leaders go to a church, mosque, or temple for protection by God or gods, lowercase g, and submissively say, "God willing." Before that, they pay no attention to God, not caring to know God or His will. But when Kala appears, they say, "God willing." Death is but another feature of the Supreme Kala, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At the time of death, the atheist must submit to the Supreme Kala. And then the Supreme Personality of Godhead takes away all his possessions, mrityu sarvaharashchaham, and forces him to accept another body, tata dehantara praptihi. This the atheists do not know, and if they do know, they neglect it so that they may go on with their normal life. The Krishna consciousness movement is trying to teach them that although for a few years one may act as a great protector or great watchman, with the appearance of Kala, death, one must take another body by the laws of nature. Not knowing this, they unnecessarily waste their time in their occupation as watchdogs and do not try to get the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As it is clearly said, aprapya mam nivartante mrityu sangsara vartamani. Without Krishna consciousness, one is condemned to continue wandering in birth and death, not knowing what will happen in one's next birth. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharne Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschatadeshtarne Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Mishtang Stapitang Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Tapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishavangsha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shakan Vitangsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So what kind of hero is Kamsa? In the Vedic conception, the Kshatriyas are supposed to be unafraid of death. Yudhe chapya palayanam. This is one of the qualities of the Kshatriya Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita. They should not run away from the battle, and they should, in other words, be fearless. They should know, which was mentioned back in the second chapter of the Gita, that if they're fighting for the right cause, then if they win, fine, they get what they were fighting for. And if they lose, they at least get promoted to the heavenly planet. So Kshatriya is supposed to be fearless at all times. But here we have Kamsa, who is the king of the Bhoja and Andaka dynasties, and he's defeated so many great demons. Again, we've mentioned several times that he didn't get his position just by wishful thinking. He actually defeated a lot of great demons and others that then submitted to him and agreed to follow him. Even the demigods, even though he was an earthly king, even the demigods were kind of afraid of this guy. So, he was a very powerful person, but here he's afraid of the birth of some child. Some child takes birth and he's completely flipped out. His hair is in disarray and he's freaking out. So, this is not good. This is not good. For a Kshatriya in that highly placed such a highly placed Kshatriya to show fear is not good. It's just like Prabhupada said about Hiranyakashipu, that the reason why he decided to kill Prahlad, because everyone is afraid of him except for his 5-year-old son. And Prabhupada said, if your 5-year-old son is not afraid of you, that's bad for business if you're the greatest demon that ever lived. Everybody's supposed to be afraid of you, what to speak of your own child. So therefore he decided to kill Prahlad. So similarly here, Kamsa, such a great demon, but he's afraid. Because he's not a devotee. That's why. And ultimately, if you're not a devotee, you will be overcome by fear. You will be overcome by fear. Because you cannot defeat Krishna. You may have defeated so many other demons, so many so-called great fighters, but you cannot defeat Krishna. Even in his impersonal feature as Kala. Time is an energy of the Lord. You could even say time is the Lord. But it's an impersonal feature. And it moves. Sometimes it seems very quickly, but most of the time imperceptibly. Time is passing. Another second goes by, another minute, another hour, another day, another week, another month, another year. And depending on your age, again, it doesn't seem so significant. When you're very young, when you're 4 years old, 1 year is 1/4 of your life, so it's a long time. But when you're 64 or 84, 1 year is like, it just goes by like that. I'm not sure what age Kamsa is at this point, but he's now getting ready to face death, and he's very, very fearful. So one may say, well, even the devotees have to face death. And yes, but it's not fearful for the devotee. Why? Because at every moment we're supposed to be hopefully engaged in devotional service, hearing, chanting, remembering the Lord, doing some practical service, especially Prabhupada stress for us. Because in the beginning we can't concentrate so well just on the hearing and chanting portion. So we have to be engaged practically. Give your energy to Krishna, your youthful energy to Krishna. Don't wait till you're 85 and then whatever little energy is left, no, I'll give it to God. Start when you're young. Komara machet pragyo dharma bhagavatamiha. From the age of 5, one should be fully indoctrinated in this bhakti shastras so that one can joyfully and eagerly give one's energy to Krishna. And why not? He's the source of all energy. You're giving back to Krishna what he's given you. And you get credit for it. Just like on one lecture I was listening recently, Prabhupada said, don't think that these children dancing isn't noted. It's noted. He said, every step that they dance is noted. This is Agyata Sukriti. So every ounce of energy that we give to Krishna is noted. Sometimes we may feel that, well, the authorities are not noticing what I'm doing. They don't have to notice. Krishna notices everything. Krishna notices everything. And Krishna will make the proper arrangement for your future. So for the devotee, there's no fear. There's no fear because we're going to be doing the same thing that we're doing now. Every day we get up, we hear and chant, we engage in practical service, we dance, we take prasadam, take a little rest, do it all over again. So the same thing, the devotee's not afraid. When I give up this body, I will get either my original spiritual body will become manifest to go on joyfully serving Krishna, or if I have to come back again in this material world, there's no loss. I'll take another material body and continue the same program. Get up, chant, dance, take prasadam, take a little rest, do it all over again. So where's the loss for the devotee? The devotee's not afraid of dying. Not afraid of dying. We should not be. If we are feeling some fear, that means we're not hearing and chanting deeply enough. Because we should at least have this realization that I'm not this body. I'm not black, I'm not white, I'm not American, Indian, Russian. I'm not even male or female. These bodies are just temporary coverings, and my original spiritual form, Sarup Siddhi, maybe completely, not maybe, it's totally different from what I'm looking at in the mirror right now. So the devotee, the more we chant Hare Krishna, the more we engage in service, the more we realize that. That realization takes over to the point where Prabhupada says for a pure devotee, having a material body, it's like a drunk person. When you're intoxicated, they don't remember whether they have clothes or no clothes on. They're just so drunk. So similarly, for a pure devotee, they're so aloof from the material plane of existence that they don't even sometimes remember whether they have a body or they don't have a body. They're just continuing in their meditation on Krishna. So this is what we should be striving for. We want to come, before we give up this particular body, we want to come to that point where we're not even aware so much of whether we have this body or not. We just are so fixed on serving Krishna. And that is possible. That is totally possible. That is the program that we're following. And if we follow the program intensely, then we will gradually come to that platform. And then when we arrive on that platform, that is the Brahmabhuta platform, no shochati, na kangshati. No more hankering, no more lamentation. Samak sarveshu bhuteshu. We see everyone equally. Because if I realize that I'm a spiritual being, I'm not this material body, then immediately I understand that's everybody else's situation, regardless of what they look like externally. And then we become fearless in distributing this Krishna consciousness. Just like last night I was out with the chanting party. I got there before the party arrived, and Arcita Prabhu, no, you hadn't arrived yet, no, it was Gauranga Prema was there. He had been out distributing books on the Santa Monica Pier, and he ran out of books. So he was sitting in the spot where the Harinam party comes, waiting for more books to arrive. And so this is blissful, this is glorious. You go out, I mean, you can only, as one person, carry so many books. So he carried as many books as he could in his bag, and during the day he distributed them all. And he was waiting for more books to arrive. This is bliss in Krishna consciousness. Not that, okay, I'm out of here, I don't have any more books, let me run back to the temple. No, he was patiently waiting for the Harinam party to arrive to give him more books to distribute. So after chanting for a while, I took up some books myself, and I was approaching, and I approached one guy. He was, I'd say about maybe 40, maybe a little more than that. And he was a martial arts instructor. He has a place in Agora. And the first thing he said is, "I love you people." I approached him with the book. I showed him the book. He said, "I love you people." I said, "Really? You know us?" He said, "Yeah, yeah." I said, "Where are you from?" He said, "Iran." He's from Iran. And he said, "I love you people." So I said, "Hey, make sure you come to the festival." And he took a book, and very nice person. So they're out there. There are people waiting. These are the low-hanging, the ripe fruit. We just approach everyone. Not everybody's going to be in such a mood. Many of them, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. So many times I use the line I got from Brija. When they say, "I'm okay," he said, "But you could be better." And then you get them to stop that way. But most people, you know, they're friendly enough, but they don't want to stop. So we're okay. We don't stress out over that. The ones who do stop, those are the ones you engage and try to get them to take a book or another book if they already have a book like that. And in this way, we take the time to help spread the Krishna consciousness movement. Because everybody, ultimately, no matter how well placed they are materially, like Kamsa, practically he was, you could say, the ruler of the planet at that time. Because at that time, whoever was king in Bharatvarsha in India was practically ruling the whole planet. So you could say he was the ruler of the planet, but he was fearful, completely fearful of this child that just took birth, to the point where he wanted to go and, not wanting to, he was going to go and try to kill the child to save himself. But we should be fully convinced we cannot save this material body. No matter what you do, this body is meant for death. Whoever has taken birth will die, Krishna says in the second chapter. And when you die, you're going to take birth again. You can't stop that either. If you're not qualified to go back to the spiritual world, the kingdom of God, then you will get another body, guaranteed. But because if we're not in Krishna consciousness, then we must be engaged in some sinful activities. Therefore, naturally we become fearful because you have to pay for those sinful activities. And sinful reaction will come. I was listening to a lecture Prabhupada was saying that the reason why there's so much difficulty in the world is because the leaders are sinful, and specifically, they don't follow the four regulative principles. Which means it's expected that if you're going to be a leader, even you could say in the secular sense of the word, you're supposed to follow these regulative principles. Otherwise, you have no piety, and if you're impious, how can you lead others? You're going to lead them into impious lives, and you're going to be more implicated. It is stated that the leader of the country, whether it's king or president, whatever name you want to give them, takes 1/6 of the karma of the citizens that they're leading. That's a lot of karma. Because at every moment, those who are not devotees, they're simply piling up sinful reactions. Just by breathing, just by walking, they're killing so many. It's unfathomable how much sinful reaction everybody's piling up individually and collectively. And the leader, because you've put yourself in that position of leadership, you have to take 1/6 of their karma. So those, for a short period of time, it may seem that they're flying high, they're leading the country, whatever, but after death, they have a lot of suffering coming to them. Fortunately, in the United States, I'd say over the last 5 or 6 presidencies, a lot of them have received or have had contact with the Hare Krishna movement. I remember I was on same promenade a few years back. Bill Clinton came through. He was not president anymore, former President Bill Clinton, and one of the devotees approached him and gave him a book. And one of his entourage was trying to intervene, and he said, no, and he took the book. So just by accepting, it was a Gita, just by accepting that Bhagavad Gita, and hopefully reading at least a few lines of it, his future has changed. I mean, it has become quite bright. Because any contact you have with Krishna consciousness, with Srila Prabhupada's book specifically, even if they read one line, even one word, as Surah likes to say, soon they'll be living in a temple eating sabji with curd. So their future is bright, just by accepting one of Srila Prabhupada's books. And this is why we should always be in a joyful mood, because we should know that any aspect of Krishna consciousness that we can get a person interested in, book distribution, they take a book, prasadam, they take a little piece of prasadam, the Harinam, if they hear the Hare Krishna, or even if they imitate Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, their future is bright, just by reciting once. Just by reciting once. Apanak sankritam gorang, yan nama vivashogranam, tatak satyo vimuchetya, yad bibeti swayambhyam. Living beings who are involved in the complicated meshes of birth and death can once be freed by even one time chanting this Hare Krishna mantra. Just one time chanting. All of their sinful reactions. Unfortunately, because they don't then take to pure life, they again start accumulating more sinful reactions. But even one time chanting Krishna's name, slate is wiped clean. So we should be enlivened to go out and get people to chant. Don't think it's a chore, something that you just have to do so Sivas doesn't get on your case. No, we should be very enlivened. And I remember in the early days, Brigapati can confer that we were so convinced that if somebody didn't take a book, and we would always say, can you say Hare Krishna? Can you at least say Hare Krishna? Like that. Everywhere you went, you would try to get people to say Hare Krishna. You went to the store, the gas station, whatever. Can you say Hare Krishna? And it was so novel to them then. They would many times, yeah, Hare Krishna. Like that. So now we've become a little bit, ourselves, a little, familiarity breeds contempt, as they say. We're so familiar with the mantra that we don't realize the potency that it has. But if you could get somebody to say Hare Krishna even once, they've made so much spiritual progress that they can't fathom. And they will be given an opportunity to continue. So, without Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada winds up his purport, one is condemned to continue wandering in birth and death. And that's because they don't have any faith. Prabhupada cites the verse from the 9th chapter. Ashadanana Parantapa, Aprapya Mamana Bhartante, Mrityu Sangsara Bhartmani. This is one of the stations in our Bhagavad Gita Museum, right, Radhakrishna Prabhu? How many stations do we have there? Huh? 11 stations. Yes, so after the universal form, which is very much appropriate for today's purport also, because here it's mentioned in the verse from the 11th chapter, Kalosmi Lokashaya Krit Pravidho. Krishna says, time I am. So when you go through the Bhagavad Gita Museum, you get to the universal form exhibit, and you hear that, time I am, the destroyer of all the worlds. Everybody here been through the Bhagavad Gita Museum, I presume? If you have not been through, put your hand up. Just one hand, 2, 3. Okay, so if you have 4, if you have not been through, as long as you're here in New Dwarka, make it your business to go through. Because it's a very, very, it's a very, very potent way of understanding what the Bhagavad Gita is all about. From the very first station, explaining who's Srila Prabhupada and why he's bringing the Bhagavad Gita. Then the next station, Arjuna bewildered on the battlefield. And then the third station, who are you? And then the fourth station, the horses, senses, body is the chariot, horses are the senses. And then the spiral going upwards towards Krishna or going down into ignorance. And then equal vision, the sage of equal vision, seeing everybody equally and acting appropriately. And then the Das avatars, right? And then you come to the universal form, which is the first time you get a chance to sit down. All the other stations so far you have to stand up. But then you get to universal form and you get a chance to sit down. And it's very, very, I mean, I've seen it many times myself, and I actually made that DVD of the Bhagavad Gita Museum, but it never gets stale. And then you come to the station that we just mentioned about Ashadanana Purusha, Dharmasyasa Parantapa. If you have no faith, then Mrityu Sangsara Bhartmani. You're going to come back to this realm of birth and death. So conversely, if you want to get out of this realm of birth and death, you have to develop this faith in Krishna and the Krishna consciousness process so that you can put all your energy into it. And when you put all your energy into it, you'll never be the loser, as Prabhupada said many, many times. Don't think you're going to be the loser, that you've given all your energy and everything to Krishna. No. First of all, we have nothing. There's really nothing we can give. Whatever we are giving to Krishna is what we got from Krishna in the first place. And Krishna is so kind that he gives us credit. That this living entity who's has had his back turned to me for so many lifetimes has now turned to face me. Krishna becomes very, very enlivened by that. And Papa said, for every step you take towards Krishna, he takes 10 steps towards you. He's more eager to take us back into his party, spiritual party, eternal party, than we are to get back there. So this Bhagavad Gita Museum, very, very important. We're very glad that it's running again. But everything that we do here, all the activities, we should not think that anything is more important than the other. On the spiritual platform, it's all equal. Prabhupada stressed that repeatedly while he was here, because he could see that due to false ego, false pride, we're thinking that I'm a pujari and therefore more important than the person who's washing the pots. No. It's all devotional service. It's all on the same platform. Prabhupada stressed from this very, very room that the pujari the gardener who grew the rose is on the same platform as the pujari who's offering the rose. Don't think there's any difference. Devotional service is absolute. So whether you're hearing, chanting, distributing books, washing the pots, cooking the food, it's all absolute. Krishna is seeing it the same way. We should not think that one activity is more important than the other. Of course, Prabhupada stressed the book distribution because ignorance is rampant in this Kali Yuga, and the best medicine for getting rid of ignorance is Prabhupada's books. It shines light into the darkness. Next person I met after that guy was a young lady student. She was born in France, but she's going to school here in America. And very much appreciating. I told her that, yeah, last year I was in France, and as soon as I left, they attacked, and almost everywhere I went, there was exact places where they attacked, and so we're talking about that, how the world is falling apart. And so people can relate to that. And the world is falling apart. They're looking for answers. Prabhupada's books are the answers. This chanting of Hare Krishna is the vehicle for taking everybody back to home, back to Godhead. So we can stop here. Any questions, any comments? Sachinananda had his hand up first, and then Neela.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. You always speak so nicely. In that verse from Bhagavad Gita that you were speaking of, Shraddhadana Puri Dharma Shasya Parantapa, Srila Prabhupada writes in that purport that faith comes from association with devotees. Would you elaborate a little bit more on, there's other ways to develop faith? Just speak a little more on faith, please.
Other ways to develop faith? Well, faith, again, is something that's a gift of God, actually, because there's no reason, after wallowing in this material realm for so many lifetimes, there's really no reason why we should develop faith on our own. But somehow or other, that seed is planted. Generally, again, it's by contact with devotees. Agyata Sukriti, you do something without even knowing it. Like somebody may just say, Hare Krishna, when they're imitating us, a seed has been planted. And then Krishna is the Chaita Guru. He's in your heart. And he is very expert at then fanning that spark. Fanning that spark. For some people, it seems it happens immediately. They come in contact with devotees, devotional service, and immediately they take to it. But that means they're continuing from a previous lifetime, most likely. And others, it may take a long time. I remember there was one lady who was coming to the temple. Generally, she would just come to the Sunday feast. For years, she was coming. And then she would take the feast, and then, like clockwork, she'd run outside. We knew what she was doing, smoking cigarettes. So after years of that, one Sunday she didn't run outside after taking the feast. So, hey, what's going on? She said, it finally dawned on me. I finally realized that the same tongue that I'm using to eat Krishna Prasadam, I'm violating by smoking cigarettes. So I just stopped. Just like that, Krishna gave her the strength. Some of us get the strength immediately, like I know when I joined, I had every bad habit you can imagine, but I can't even remember missing cigarettes. From day one, it just stopped. And I had a very bad habit. At that point, I was a college student, and I just finished my third year, and I was literally smoking a pack and a half a day. But I don't remember going through any struggle. I started chanting, started eating prasadam, and boom, it just went away. All the bad habits just melted away. So the seed of faith is generally planted by contact with devotees. Even if you don't remember in this lifetime coming in contact with devotees, it may have happened in a previous lifetime. And that seed then develops more and more when we associate with devotees, when we see how devotees live and we practice the devotional lifestyle. And we start to realize it's not just, again, based on something theoretical. By applying this lifestyle, one develops knowledge, and the knowledge becomes more solid. Jnana becomes vijnana. One becomes, as Krishna says later on, it's by realization. By realization, one becomes fixed up. So this is faith. And it's the definition of faith is given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita is that Shara Shabda Vishwakai Surda Nishchoy, that by engaging, I have this firm understanding and conviction that just by engaging in devotional activities, all my necessities, everything will be taken care of. I don't have to worry about anything else. Don't have to allow myself to be diverted to anything else. Simply by engaging in devotional activities under the guidance of a devotee of Krishna, obviously not just willy-nilly, then everything, all my needs will be taken care of. I don't have to worry about anything else. That is really firm faith. So we may not have such firm faith immediately, but by associating with devotees and seeing how they're 24/7, 365 engaged and not worried about anything. Many of the older devotees never even had a job in the material world. So later on when you ask them, are you getting Social Security? Well, I never put anything in, so I'm not going to get anything out. But that's okay. Krishna still takes care of them. It's not that because I'm not getting Social Security and then I'm not. No. Krishna takes care of everyone anyway. Prabhupada would make that point. So you just should have full, firm faith that if I give my energy to Krishna, serve Krishna, everything will be taken care of. Okay, and then one more from Neela and then we'll stop.
Thank you for a nice class, Prabhu. I just wanted to, you were mentioning earlier about how devotional service is absolute and how the person who grows the flower and the pujari, they're on an equal level. What about like the
No, I didn't say they were on an equal level. Quote me properly. The service is seen equally by Krishna.
Yeah, okay.
It doesn't mean that because you're a gardener and you're not second initiated and now you consider yourself to be a pujari. No, not necessarily that the practitioners are on the same level, but the service is seen equally.
Yeah. I just wanted to, ask about, like, what about the consciousness of the person? Does that affect whether the service is seen equally? Let's say one is motivated, one is unalloyed, versus one is, it's mixed with material consciousness or gyan or karma. These, like, one can picture offering sweet rice to Krishna versus the story of the great devotee who he offered sweet rice to Krishna, he burned his hands. So is there a ranking?
Well, that's why I said, yes, the practitioners are not necessarily on the same level. But Krishna is so kind that anything you do, just like I mentioned, Prabhupada said in that lecture, the children, they're agya, they don't really know what they're doing, but every step of their dance, Krishna is noting and he's taking it and he's giving them credit for it. He is so merciful. That's his mercy. It doesn't mean that the child is on the same level as Prabhupada when he's dancing. They're not. The practitioners may not be on the same level, but the activity is seen by Krishna equally. You see? The activity is seen by Krishna equally. So, again, the point being that one should not be puffed up, that because I'm doing a particular kind of service, I'm distributing books or I'm dressing the deed or whatever, therefore I am better automatically than somebody else. One should not think like that. Because Krishna is seeing any devotion activity. The story told from the Puranas is of a mouse. Mouse was hungry. Someone or other got onto the altar. He was looking around for something to eat because, altar means you smell food. So much nice boga is offered there. So he's looking around for something to eat. And while he was there, his whisker caught fire. There was just a little spark left on the ghee lamp, but his whisker caught fire and set it, the flame came up and he actually died. But Krishna saw that as service. He relit my lamp and he gave him liberation. He went back to the spiritual world. So that's the point. Krishna is seeing the activity equally. Not that you're equal to another practitioner, but he's seeing the activity. Any devotion activity, Krishna is accepting. That's why he said, it's just a leaf, flower, water, anything you do with some love, I'll take it. But Prabhupada said that doesn't mean that if I'm a very rich man, then I give Krishna just a little flower. And no, you have money, then give Krishna a big building to live in. Give Krishna whatever you can afford, like that. But Krishna is seeing the service equally. He's not thinking that just because this person is a rich person, then I take his service more as being more significant than the poor person who's just thinking of serving me. No. Even in your mind, Krishna will accept if you're doing it purely. Okay? Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. She better.